This month we got a lot of new information on Gotham Knights, and the month is still young. There's a lot more weeks to go, but we got 16 minutes of Batgirl gameplay and brand new look at 28 different suits in the game, James. Um, we originally were still a little skeptical, but I was extremely skeptical about the first showing of Gotham Knights when we got first gameplay of Nightwing just a little while ago, like just whatever, a couple months ago. Nightwing
Yeah,
and
it
Red
was with
Hood.
Red Hood and Nightwing. Yeah,
I thought it looked bad. I thought it just straight
did
up
not
did
look
not
good
look good.
at
Horrible
all.
showing for the first thing.
Yes.
But I watched the 16 minutes of gameplay, very like open to have my mind changed, open to see stuff that impressed me, but also open to just like have the realization that okay, this might not be a game that I pick up. But I have a lot of thoughts about the gameplay, James. A lot of thoughts
I'm
about the
glad you
gameplay.
do.
Let's jump in a little bit. Do you want to give me a couple points and we'll kind of talk about it. Some stuff that you noticed
All
from the
right,
gameplay.
let's talk about this in like categories, right?
Sure.
So we'll go technical stuff.
Okay.
That includes like visuals, lighting, sound, designs,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And then we'll talk about like combat, and we'll talk about I don't know, we don't have much of story, so I'm not gonna talk
Yeah.
about that. But there's but like also I think gameplay outside of combat. Let's like divide that out.
Cool. Okay. Let's jump in
Mhm.
with the technical stuff first. Go for it. What did you think?
I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks on par with a modern Ubisoft game.
Yeah. I
That's what I my mind went like, oh, this is Watch Dogs
Legion
what
or
was the Watch Dogs Legion. This looks like a Watch Dogs Legion environment.
yeah. I would say all the outdoor environments for me don't
Mm-hmm.
look great. They look kind of rough. I guess it looks like an open world. But
Yep.
on the flip side, when Batgirl goes inside of, I don't really know what it is, whatever this building is. I thought the lighting
Yeah.
effects for the fire and stuff looked really good. Like they had good textures of like she was walking down a hallway and there's a lot of light coming through. It's like a sweet like god ray of like orange
Yeah.
burning light, and it was like you could see the water on the sides of the room and stuff. I was like, this looks
Mm.
good, but it looks like a superhero like copy pasted into this environment. I guess that's because the suit's so like bright and
Oh.
vibrant, but that's
Uh-huh.
what really caught me in.
It doesn't feel like it fits.
No, a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like it
Yeah,
fits.
I know what you mean. I would like some like that's what I felt. Honestly, I think the original Arkham games did a good job at that because I feel like the suit was like weathered
So
and like
dark.
you would see the
Yeah.
rain effects like on the
Right.
cape and everything like that. And I want to see more of that like weathering on the
Well,
suits like as you play like mud, like it's raining a lot, you know.
yeah. And I, that's another thing I'm worried about is the character models in this game. Um,
Yeah.
they look a little clay
They
facey.
look a little clay facey.
Um, and I mean, even in this demo that we saw, James, in the very beginning, when it's showing
Hmm.
like you could select a character, because this is the tutorial of the game, basically, is like the
Right.
first, literally first 16
Like
minutes.
the first mission. Hmm.
It shows a circle. You can click any character to start on. There's a little bit of like, I know it's like alpha gameplay, but there's a little bit of a cutout where like the background's in
Mm.
focus, and then right behind that cutout, the background's out of focus, which means the background's like there, and then the character's like on top of it, and it's rendered like that instead of like the character rendered in the scene, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
And I'm like, dude, I hope this is just for this cutscene and literally nothing else
Yeah.
or something. But yeah, I don't know. There's a couple things I was thrown off about, but let's jump into some of the combat.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more on like the characters, and I
Okay.
think the voice acting was pretty good, but for some reason, one Nightwing was always hard for me to hear. His voice
Hmm.
just seemed really quiet,
Sure.
and then
Okay.
anytime voices were coming through the not the intercom, but the comm link,
Yeah.
the walkie-talkie, super hard for me to hear. Like it was just a
Yeah.
little too distorted. Where I was like, yeah, this is gonna be distracting. Like I'm not gonna hear it. But I like the chatter. I like the chatter between the characters and like what they were doing, and they would like comment on what you're doing, and you'd
Yeah.
talk back and forth.
I think that helps it
But
stay connected too, which
yeah, definitely.
also goes into what I really like about the UI. The UI is so small and nice in this, except
Hmm.
obviously there's the huge tutorial pop-ups, but that's because they want you to read the tutorial pop-ups, and that's how it's going to be. That's not going to be like that the whole game.
I hope it's also like I hope the objective isn't like that on the side of the
I
screen
I
because
don't think it will.
it was like I wrote it down. Clear out all freaks in the library.
Yeah.
1 out of 5.
Oh yeah, yeah.
and it had a counter. I was like, I hate that kind of marker.
I am also assuming that this is like just tutorial. Like this is just I don't really know how the actual game will look inside because on the gameplays that they've shown outside of the tutorial, they don't show UI. So I'm
Mm,
like this was like my first look at like okay, this might be what the UI actually looks like, I
yeah,
guess. Um Combat wise, I think this was way
it's
more
pretty good.
fun than what we saw with Nightwing. It looks like the Arkham
Hmm.
combat where you hit someone, it like snaps to the other person that you hit, and you do a combo off them into the other person. The finishers look pretty cool. I did notice that during the very end battle, where you're fighting the big guy with the shield and stuff, whoever's playing these demos is not how you would play the game. They
No.
like break the shield and they back off so that he gets the shield back up again, and he breaks the shield again just to show that you can kind of do that. Then at one
Hmm.
point the big guy goes down and he's heavy, he's panting, has a shield on the ground, and he has his head exposed. Obviously assigned to jump up and do a finisher, like a big finisher on the guy. But Batgirl backs all the way up, waits for him to get back up, and then does it again. I was like, dog, I would have ran over there and finished him right off. Like, are you kidding me? I
Yeah.
would have never waited, which I was like, I would not play the game like this. So it's a little bit different, but it's still cool. It's still cool. I think the
Yeah.
combat looks fun, and this is where it's clicked for me, James. This game doesn't have to be a 10, doesn't have to be a 9, doesn't have to be an 8. I think I'd pick it up if it's a 7. Just because I think I'm craving this
Okay.
sort of game right now.
Sure.
Fun superhero deal. Like I don't need it to be the best story I've ever heard. I don't need it to be graphically the best thing I've ever heard because it looks enjoyable. Like I look like I have a good time with it,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
I noticed in the combat that there's a lack of a counter button.
Um,
Lack of a counter.
really, it's just
There
a
was an
dodge.
evade. There was an evade. There was a melee attack, and there's a ranged attack. So circle was dodge,
Oh,
square was
light attack.
light attack, but you hold it
Hold.
for a heavy melee attack, and then triangle for a ranged attack, or hold triangle for a heavy ranged attack,
Yeah. Which is interesting. I like that.
which is very interesting. I don't know if I like it. I liked having counters. I
Did,
would like to see
did Batman have a counter?
how. Yeah, that was the whole thing. It like was the game to have like a counter system where you would have it would be like a white or a yellow indicator of an attack,
There
and
is
then so
that in this
you'd
game.
no, yes, that's there, but they did
Yeah.
not counter. There's no like
Okay.
countering, like any sort of deflection or anything like that, where you would take and you'd like grab the bat and you'd punch him in the stomach, and
Oh yeah.
then or like if it was red, then that means that's not counterable. Like you
Yeah.
just have to dodge out of the way.
Do you remember,
Um,
like in Marvel Spider-Man, um, they don't have a
Same
counter,
thing,
but there is like a perfect dodge in which then it's a perfect dodge and you shoot a web at the guy's face so that they're unable to attack right there,
right?
and that's kind of the counter. So I wonder if
I
there's
see.
gonna be a similar thing there where it's not actually like a block or something. It's like you if you perfectly dodge, maybe you kick them real quick and then they
Throw a
like
batarang, or
yeah or
yeah.
something like that. I'm pretty sure that's how it'll work instead.
Okay.
We shall
I'm
see.
concerned at the combat variation
Sure.
in
Yeah,
terms of
that's fair.
I saw a lot of the same attacks,
Mm-hmm.
especially the same attacks being used on different types of enemies. And so I'm like, what's the use of enemy variety if you're not gonna have different attacks? I think I liked about because Batman Arkham, if you remember, there was like so riot shield guys you would have to, or like Spider-Man's a good example too, where like some guys you couldn't attack from the air because they had air specific attacks that could
Yes.
drag you down,
Right.
or like people with shields you had to jump up and vault over them to get them from the backside, or
Yeah.
like big guys you would have to in Arkham do like rapid punches
Yeah, to kind
just
of
to like
break
make a
them up.
dent. Yeah,
Well, to quench your fear a little bit about this, there was some more Batgirl gameplay released that was like 5 minutes that takes place about halfway through the game. She was using all sorts of gadgets in this,
cool.
different moves that we didn't see here. I think this gameplay is a very base level Batgirl that we see playing. And then the upgrades would be these bigger, cooler attacks with more variation of enemies too. Like there was different weapon enemies running out of different shield enemies, like
Sure.
more aggro, like jumpy enemies fighting her. So
Hmm.
I don't really know exactly how all that'll work, but you're right. It is a concern that
Yeah,
it might all blend together a little
and I
bit.
hope that those like as you progress, the game throws at you different enemies
Yeah.
so that you don't have to. because if you throw like if those enemies can be defeated using base level tactics,
Yeah.
then kind of what's the point of those new abilities other than just to make it easier,
Yeah.
convenient? So I hope they actually like force you to use those new abilities.
Yeah. Some final thoughts too for me is just I'm still don't like that this is XP and leveling based for the characters.
Hmm.
I understand that there's 4 characters, and so it's like trying to spend time with all of them, and create a good team or whatever. It could be interesting, but I'm not going to say that I endorse this until I see it and actually play it. I don't think that's.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's it. I also put that just this is the smoothest we've seen the gameplay. It looks snappy and punchy. Like hits are actually landing on the enemies instead of the Nightwing
Yeah,
stuff
and they
where
feel heavy.
yeah, the Nightwing stuff you just looked like he just swiped around at him and they fell over. I was like, this looks
Yeah,
terrible. So
yeah.
I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful about the game.
I'm also hopeful. Vincent, you commented on the detective work and
Yes.
how it looked a little bit like Wolf Among Us. And I think that's a good
Right.
comparison in that, like, I know what you mean in terms of you're in an environment and you like click on things
Yes.
to like get more information about, but what I would like to see that Wolf Among Us did that they didn't do here, from what I saw, was it allows you to like use the information
To
that you
yeah.
picked up in the dialogue afterward.
Right.
And so I hope it's not, I have to find the right thing to interact with, or else I'm just going to get a bunch of bullshit like dialogue
Yeah.
that like doesn't actually mean anything. I
Right.
hope it's actually helpful to like the character in solving the cases and or like serving like solving where you need to go. I want very like in-depth puzzles. Like I said,
Yes.
or like we said, this is like first 16 minutes of the game, very
Right.
base level, very basic. I would love to see how some of these scale in the mid-end game.
Yes. I am have the same thought as you
Concern.
two.
Yeah.
I think it looks good. Looks more dynamic than previous detective type stuff because every time they're like this you're playing detective Batman or like this is like there's detective elements
Right.
to this game.
Or like to make comparison, like it's The Witcher, where like, oh, you're like trying to find where the creature is, but in
Yeah.
reality, you're just clicking a button and
Yes.
like interacting with the thing on the screen.
Right. And so I think that this is going to be similar to that where you're just clicking around and listening to things and it's more for you than dictating what the
Hmm.
game decides. But regardless, I think it's better than just scanning the area and listening to an audio tape to me.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's a step in the right direction. James, before we wrap this clip up, there's a couple more things I want to talk about. And that is yesterday, we got a brand new look at 28 suits that are coming to the game and different suit sets and a little more information on how the game customization actually works. So some of the suits we've seen are like there's a Shinobi suit, there's the Jim Lee suit, like just totally different suits. And they look awesome. They look really, really cool. There's going to be a free transmog system from the get-go. So
Hell yeah.
yeah, right off the bat, there's no currency. Like it's just like
Sweet.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is it did it right for me. It's just you get gear and you're able to just apply the cosmetic stuff to
Yep.
the gear, which is awesome. Now, in with that is a kind of a caveat. You're not able to mix and match armor sets. Okay,
The Halo Infinite dilemma.
correct. But they said, like in the developer interview, they said that it would not be possible to do this because there becomes all of this like glitching in the suits and the things don't play together right. Like the
There's
suits
like
kind of
different
fold
like
in.
geometry that like
Yeah,
geometry sets that you have for different suits that look
right.
different. Yeah.
Now, this doesn't mean that your whole team has to match certain brand of suits. Like you can have one character in a certain suit, one character in a different suit, that kind of thing. And within each suit, there's multiple things you can change in it. You can change the cowl, badge, arms, legs, and then sometimes the chest piece. But there's like 3 to 5 different versions of that you can choose
Yeah.
to kind of give it your own, customization.
Flavor.
Plus,
Yeah.
full colorway customization for each armor set. So
Very cool.
which is pretty awesome. They said you can have like, a bright yellow red hood or a bright pink red hood. Like you can do whatever you want, which is fun if you're going
That's
to jump in
super
with multiplayer and play with your friends. So
Yeah.
that gets me excited too. I think this was a great developer interview. It's like 15 minutes or something. But there's a lot of insight and you can tell these guys are excited about it, even with the delays.
Oh, it's 9 minutes.
9 minutes
So
long?
it's like
Okay.
not long at all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool watch. I think their excitement was a little bit infectious for us talking about
Yeah.
this today. Like I got
Yeah.
it from him. It didn't sound like they
I'm
were
just
just
kinda-
bubbling through.
Yeah. I'm just kind of scrubbing through this video right now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool designs they
Oh,
have in here.
Dude,
Like
yes.
these aren't just like very slight variations. These are like complete like overhaul,
Yeah.
that look incredibly different thematically.
Yeah.
One of my biggest pet peeves is like, oh, we have all these like customization options, but in reality, they're very
They
like
look the same.
small, minimal like tunes,
Yeah.
but these are like completely different and they look incredible.
Yeah. Guys, we're going to
Um,
get brand new details about Gotham Knights all month. This is only the beginning of the month right now, and we already have, this gameplay plus the suits. I'm sure we'll get more. It's IGN's, it's their first or whatever. They have
yep,
like each
IGN
month.
first, and so for the whole month, they're gonna be covering
Yeah.
it.
So I'm sure we'll get more information as the month goes. If you would like to know more about Gotham Knights, you can sub right here to Strictly Casual. We cover video games, movies, TV, streaming, and all that good stuff. If you'd like to listen to the entire podcast, you can go to any podcast platform of your choice, type in Strictly Casual Checkpoint, where we're going to be right there. It's a little blue box that says Checkpoint in yellow. We appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for all the good stuff we got going. James, any final words for this clip?
When does this game come out, Vin?
October 25th. And
October
if as long
25th.
as it gets more than the 7, I'm buying it.
Cool. Me too.
That's kind of where I'm at. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.